What's free? Free is when nobody else can tell us what to be.
Hi guys, my name is Stephanie. If you're new here, I'm from Your BFF Steph, and I do business tutorials teaching people how to start creative businesses like clothing lines, lash lines, open boutiques, and things like that. For today's video, we are going to be discussing opening talent and or management agencies. Before I get started, I'd like to first start off with I am not an expert in this field. I consider myself very knowledgeable in starting businesses. So I take that knowledge, I research a field, and then I teach you guys how to start the business in that field. It's pretty straightforward. If you know the foundations of starting a business, then you can pretty much start any business as long as you do your research. So that's what I do. I also provide ebooks on every topic. This one is called How to Start a Talent or Management Agency, and you can find that ebook on my website, which I'll link below, but it is thebizhive.org. So as I was saying, we're going to be discussing how to start a talent and or management agency, and let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is a talent agent and what is a manager. So a talent agent is someone who represents talent, of course, and a talent could be a performer, an actress, a singer, a rapper, a puppeteer, anyone who performs in some sort of setting that will be going out to the public. Every famous person we know usually has an agent that is there to book their jobs. The job of the talent agent is to make sure that the talent is receiving a good sum of money for whatever it is they're doing. They negotiate the contracts and they make sure things go according to those contracts. A manager does something similar. After the negotiations are done and the contracts are signed, the manager watches over the talent's business affairs on a day-to-day level. A manager can never negotiate contracts. They are only there to make sure that the talent is getting where they need to be on time, they're running the schedule, and things like that. The main difference between the two is that an agent is there to negotiate contracts. A manager legally cannot negotiate a contract for talent unless they have a talent agency, they're licensed to do it. A manager cannot do that work. So now that you know the difference between a talent agent and a manager, when it comes to starting an agency, the first thing you need to decide is which one you want to be. Some people try to do both, but it can vary by state what is required. Usually an agent requires way more than a manager. An agent has to actually legalize the business, create a sole proprietorship or an LLC or some type of corporation that they would apply to the state as. So you have to apply for your business license, you have to get a tax ID number, you have to have an actual premises that you work from. Talent agents cannot work from home. Managers can. Talent agents have to work from a commercial premises. They cannot work from home. A talent legally cannot step into the home of an agent for work purposes when it comes to the agency. So when you apply to the state to have a talent agency, you have to have a commercial premises. They will come in and do an inspection. A manager, on the other hand, is able to work from home. No one's coming in to do an inspection. You don't even have to have a full business license. You can get something as small as a sole proprietorship. You should get at least the sole proprietorship because your talent, the client, they're definitely gonna wanna know that you're a legal entity, but it's not required by state. Once you decide whether you want to be a talent agent or manager, then you will follow the steps needed. This video is mostly going to go in depth about being a talent agent because that one is the hardest, but I will continue to discuss managers as we go along. When it comes to identifying your market, after you've chosen which one you want to do, you can then decide what you can bring to the industry. The entertainment industry is full of agents. If you watch TV, if you read magazines, if you read blogs, you'll see that most talent is represented by some sort of agent or manager or both. You have to determine what you can bring to the industry that is missing. Are you going to bring in a new level of diverse clients? Are you going to do some type of guerrilla marketing that gets your clients out there before anyone else can? You have to kind of come in swinging because it's a tough field to be in and so many of them already exist. So identifying your market just means that you are bringing something to the industry that's missing. You're filling a void. When it comes to licenses and permits, as I was saying, as a manager, you don't really have to do anything, but as a talent agent, it gets really, really tough to become one. I don't want to say tough, but there are a lot of steps you have to follow. One, as I said, is you have to be a legal business. So you have to have either your articles of incorporation or your sole proprietor certificate or any other document saying what type of corporation you are. I want to pause for a second just to remind you, I do have ebooks and other videos explaining how to obtain these sort of documents. You can look through my videos here on YouTube, or you can go to my website, which I said I'll link below, but it is thebizhive.org, and you can find other ebooks on how to start businesses, how to choose a legal formation, and things like that. So anyway, getting back to it, you have to have your business license. You have to actually apply for the license through your state. Each state is different. I'm gonna mainly discuss New York and California since those are the most popular ones for talent. So with New York, you have to do fingerprinting. You also have to do fingerprinting in California. They want copies of your fingerprints. They want your business documents saying what type of business you are. They want your tax ID number. One certification that New York wants is the employment agency certification or the theatrical employment agency certification. Since we're discussing talent, you're gonna go with the theatrical employment agency certification. That's the one saying that you're gonna be managing artists, performers, entertainers, and things like that. You also have to get a bond, a surety bond. There are a few companies who do it. When it comes to the bond, it differs depending on what types of artists you're gonna be managing and how many artists you're gonna have on as your clientele. So when you go out to get a bond, you would pretty much, it's like getting car insurance. You go to an agency that provides that bond. Let's say New York wanted a $20,000 bond for your company. You would go to a company, an insurance company, you would let them know that you need a bond as a theatrical employment agency, and it has to be $20,000 per New York's rules. They would tell you, we do have this bond for you. We do have to run your credit to see what your premium will be. The premium is what you would pay towards that insurance bond for the year. So let's say the premium is gonna be $200 for the year. The insurance company is going to give you a set amount that you need to pay per month. So you're not actually paying $20,000. You're paying a premium which covers $20,000. Very similar to your car insurance. California also requires a surety bond, and you can also look for companies in that area that cover that. Along with all of these different documents, there are fees required for each. If you purchase my ebook, I do list the links that allow you to find these fees. And I also go into the other states. I also provide links to other states and their requirements. As I said, I only wanted to start with New York and California because those are the most popular places for talent. One major thing that California requires that New York doesn't currently require is workers' comp. That's another agency you'll have to contact to see if they can provide that. Once you get all of these documents together, you then send your portfolio along with the application for the license, all fees required, and anything else they might ask as you go along. You would send that to your state's licensing department, and they would go ahead and get the process started for you to open your agency. Generally, the process could take about 45 days. It's not guaranteed, but that's the going time frame that I've seen. So now you have your agency up and running. You've decided that you want to be a talent agent. If you're a talent agent, you know you have all those documents, and you have your license, you have your bond, you have your workers' comp. If you're in California, everything is set. If you're a manager, you're operating as a sole proprietor or an LLC, everything is set. Now you have to deal with talent unions. So a talent union is similar to any other union. If you've worked a 9-to-5, you might have been a part of a union like Teamsters or some type of local. But what a union does is protects its members' rights as workers. So they make sure you're working in fair working conditions, they make sure you're being treated fairly and things like that. When it comes to a talent union, they do the same thing, except they're not protecting them at a regular 9-to-5 like they would do us. They're protecting the talent on set, on television sets, at radio stations, broadcasters, things like that. These people in the talent industry go to unions within their industry. So like actors and actresses and broadcasters, they go to SAG-AFTRA. Stage and theater actresses and actors, they go to Actors Equity. Makeup artists and people who work behind the scenes in theater and movies, they might go to IATSE. There are different types of unions for different industries. But the reason why I bring up the unions is because if your potential client is in a union, you have to follow the rules of that union in order to represent their member. So an example of that is, let's take SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA represents actresses and actors and broadcasters, right, mainly. If you were to represent talent who was also a member of SAG-AFTRA, you as an agent would have to sign up and apply through SAG-AFTRA to become a franchise agent. And what that means is you have to apply with them, meet all of their requirements. So for one, you have to have your talent agency license. They want to see that. They want to see your insurance bond. They want to make sure you have workers' comp if you're in California. They want to make sure you have a commercial building. Everything the state wanted, SAG-AFTRA also wants to see, along with signing their contract. So the contract that you sign with SAG-AFTRA is basically saying that you agree to follow their rules. You won't try to take more than you're supposed to on commissions, which we'll get into later, and things like that. So when it comes to signing talent, you have to first see if they're a part of a union and what that union requires you as an agent or a manager to do. It's not as hard for a manager signing with a union. Like SAG-AFTRA doesn't really sign managers to the union, but they do have affiliated managers, meaning that they've done some work with you, you've spoken with them on behalf of your mutual client, and they know that you do good business. So they'll list you as an affiliated manager. No one has to go to them to deal with you, but they still list you as someone who they know is a respectable manager. So you've done all the work, you have your business going, you've registered with the unions. It's now time to start getting clients. How do you get clients? You can, of course, look on social media. If you started this agency, more than likely you already have a group or at least one person who you want to manage. That would most likely be the reason why you're going out of your way. This is probably something that you have a passion for. But so now it's time to get clients. As I said, you might get clients off of social media. If you don't already personally have a relationship with the client, you definitely want to try to get to know them before you actually sign on to do business with them. The reason why I say this is because someone might have great talent and be serious about their craft, but they might not know how to act in a professional setting. When you're booking clients for auditions as an agent or even as a manager, or you're negotiating contracts, you want to make sure the client is going to deliver what you say they're going to deliver. This is how SAG-AFTRA determines who is a good affiliated manager, because everything runs according to schedule. Some things will be out of your hand because once the client books the job or gets the audition, you're most likely not there anymore. So you don't know if that client is going to be rude to the staff, showing up late, not showing up at all, things like that. So you kind of want to have a few meetings and get-togethers with potential clients just to make sure that this is going to be a good business relationship. We always see so many friends in their friendships, in their business relationships on bad notes because they didn't really take the time to get to know each other on a personal and business level. So you just want to make sure before you sign any contracts with the client, you know them and you feel strongly about the fact that they're going to do the work that they're promising to do. You guys both want to have an understanding of what you can bring to the table for each other. You want to know what to expect. Also, no verbal contracts. Don't do anything verbally. Everything should be written. When it comes down to the clients, when it comes down to the unions, definitely get everything in writing, because if you ever have to take anyone to court, or if they're taking you to court, no one wants to hear about a verbal agreement. Everyone wants to see everything in writing. So definitely put everything in writing. Also, when it comes to clients, most of these talented people are only working on their craft, and in the beginning of their career, they don't really have the money to fund their craft. It's going to be your responsibility to pay for those things. You might have to pay for makeovers, traveling, hotels, things like that, reels, anything. And you want to make sure you get paid back for that stuff. You want to put all of that, any type of expense you put up for the talent, you want to make sure in their contract it says that they have to repay such and such, and you need to put exactly how much that is, because it's a different ball game once people get those big checks from booking a job. You want to make sure everything is in black and white and no one has to say that they don't remember this or this didn't happen. It's there in a contract and you have nothing to worry about. So I wanted to go into Rich Paul. So Rich Paul is LeBron's friend and agent. He's responsible for booking so many different contracts and jobs for LeBron outside of basketball. Like any types of commercials or endorsements we see, Rich Paul is usually responsible for securing that deal for LeBron. He also has a roster of other athletes that he represents, and he booked so many jobs for all of them. If you get a chance, Google Rich Paul. But the reason I bring him up is because he's an agent who doesn't have his bachelor's degree. Recently, in case you haven't heard, the NCAA issued a memo saying that they now want agents to get their bachelor's degree prior to becoming an agent and representing athletes. This became a big thing because it came off as being racist due to the fact that most of the agents that don't have their bachelor's degrees are minorities, but they're doing great work in the athletic industry. So LeBron stepped out for his friend, and he was like, I feel like, you guys are kind of coming at my friend because he doesn't have the bachelor's degree. Why do they need it? Such and such. So they ended up revoking that amendment, and you no longer need the bachelor's degree. But the reason why I bring it up is because it's important that you pay attention to all the rules of your industry. If you're going to be representing people in the acting industry, in the singing industry, make sure you pay attention to all regulations, because agents are regulated by the state. At any given moment, they could change any type of rule and take away your salary. So when you get a chance, Google the Rich Paul rules so you can familiarize yourself with what can happen, because you're making money based off of commissions. If for some reason they decide that you can't be an agent anymore for whatever reason, your salary is gone. You work strictly off of commission. And if you can't make money for your talent, you can't make money for yourself. So definitely familiarize yourself with the laws and the rules, and always follow them. Pay attention to the union. Unions change rules yearly, sometimes mid-year, so you just want to make sure you're paying attention. Don't let anyone tell you about it. You do the research yourself. But when it comes to making money as an agent, so first, with business expenses, as an agent, you are gonna be responsible for the rent for your place. Of course, it has to be a commercial place, so you definitely want to include that in your business plan. And other things, like I said, you might have to pay up front for the artists, for their makeovers, for their hotels, for their travel, things like that. So you do want to set a budget for that. But as I said, put it in your contract so that when they book that first $20,000 job, you can recoup some of that money, if not all of that money. And on top of that, get your first commission. When it comes to commission, it varies by state, but most of the unions require the agent to not receive more than 10% of the talent's earnings. So if a talent books a job for $20,000, as an agent, you would get $2,000 of that. If the talent books a job for $50,000, you would get $5,000 of that. It's usually no more than 10%. It can be less, but I can't see why you would do less when you're allowed to take 10%. When it comes to a manager is not as regulated, but it is usually done at 20%. A manager would usually get 20% of the talent's earnings. So if they're getting $20,000 for a check from a job, you should get $4,000 of that. 50,000, 10,000. So talent agents get 10% as a commission, managers get 20%. One important thing that I want to mention is you're not allowed to charge a registration fee for people to sign with your agency. A lot of people do this. They'll tell the talent, oh, you're so talented, I have so many jobs I could book for you, first pay me $500 to sign on. That is illegal. You're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to collect your money on the back end. If you get caught doing it, they could take away your license. They meaning the state. The union can stop working with you as an affiliated manager, as a franchise agent, things like that. So you definitely want to make sure you are not charging upfront for a registration fee. Do the right thing and collect your money on the back end from commission. So that is basically it. The toughest part of this process will be obtaining the license as a talent agent, but other than that, it's definitely worth it. I mentioned Rich Paul, and Rich Paul makes about $25 million per year from commission out of his clients, so it's definitely worth it to get into this field. You just want to make sure you're following all the rules because it is heavily regulated. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want the direct links to anything I mentioned, be sure to purchase my ebook. It's called How to Start a Talent or Management Agency. You can find that link in my bio. The website is thebizhive.org. Please be sure to also follow me on Instagram at your.bff.steph. I will also link that in the description. And Steph has an F, not a PH. Okay guys, as usual, thank you so much for watching my video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.